Okay, so the bit we're talking about today is, this is what we're told to do, making iconic radio. But I suppose we gave it a bit of a spin. Do you want to drive it?
Yes, I'll do the clicking.
Yeah. To take it to how not to accidentally kill your radio. And I think we all know how to make good work, and that's like a great idea, well executed. But I think there are a couple of pitfalls that we all fall into that result in us really killing a good idea, or really taking a brief and producing something that's slightly less desirable. So we'll take you through our tips, by no means definitive, but they're, from our experience, what kind of works. Cam?
Yeah, I think we've identified 5 kind of points and ways that people sometimes do kill their radio. This first one revolves around the idea. Ideas are like vital organs. You can't proceed without them. And I think often our radio, or an idea at all, dies before you even get to the crafting of it, because you start polishing something that shouldn't be polished. So at the heart of every kind of good execution is a good idea, and you shouldn't settle with an okay idea. An okay idea is just okay and will never really get you anywhere, and we don't like polishing turds. We thought we'd play one of the Lucozade spots here. It's a great demonstration of a cracker of an idea and a true insight. The execution isn't rocket science, but the idea is so strong that it pulled it through. So I don't know if you guys know, this is work that came out of Johannesburg for Lucozade. We've got a Grand Prix at Cannes amongst a whole lot of other shiny things.
It's 11 p.m. Joburg time. You come so far in this teleconference meeting. You pushed out every ounce of presentation breath, eked out every last drop of enthusiasm, presented under 7 people in 6 countries. Suddenly dawns on you that the call was dropped ages ago, maybe somewhere around slide 457. And so for the second time today, you thrust out one more hour of pitching and parried through points and punchlines. And now, you've just hit the thank you slide. And Sanjay from Malaysia, the only one who matters and has signing off power, dials in and says, "Hey guys, what did I miss?" Now you got a problem. I'll tell you what you're gonna do. You're gonna scroll back to slide 1, and you are gonna do the presentation again with Lucozade, with energy.
Because I think those of us that work on global business especially understand the pain of the multi-country call and the one important person that doesn't arrive. And I think what makes that great in terms of an idea is that obviously it's beautifully executed and all that kind of stuff, but it's true. Like everyone here is like, I know those kind of calls, I know those kind of meetings, I know like how I feel like a deflated Lilo at the end of it. And I think that's what makes a great idea. And I think to Brent's point earlier, you know, I always say that ideas are like the cake, and the execution, the craft, is the icing. And no one eats a bowl of icing. Occasionally I do, but mostly you need that cake to put the icing on, and that's the idea. So push on your ideas, make sure your ideas are brilliant before you even go to execution. That's the trick. Okay? Okay, then the writing part. Unfortunately, radio is a writer's medium. That doesn't mean art directors can't work on it, but it means that there's nowhere to hide if your writing is not up to scratch. And I think the trick to making sure that your writing is perfect is crafting, and that's making sure every word is perfect. I've actually been in a situation where I've recorded spots. Sometimes those spots have done really well, but I've listened to them over and over again, and then there's been one little sentence that bothers me, and I can never get over it. It bothers me forever. And you need to make sure, you need to sit with every little word and make sure it is absolutely perfect. And there's no other standard for it. It's absolutely perfect, 100%. And that's what you need to do with your writing. So what we've done is, just to demonstrate the importance of writing, is we've taken a really, it's quite a famous radio commercial that was done. I think it won a Cannes Gold for writing. And we'll play you that spot, and then I have taken that spot and rewritten it very badly, and I want to show you the power of great writing is the difference between a can gold and possibly nothing. So that's what we're going to play now.
Like the cutest fluffy bear. No, like the cutest white little baby bear, playing in the Arctic and rolling around in really, really soft snow. So, like the cutest little baby polar bear, covered in the thickest, freshest, powdery snow, playing hide and seek, with a paw hiding its nose. And he also just happens to be the rarest albino baby bear in the world ever. Right, like the cutest, freshly laid, snow-covered, rare albino polar bear fluffy thingy, playing hide and seek in the Arctic, with its eyes closed. That kind of white. Guaranteed tide whiteness.
Gold, which is very nice to have for writing. This is something I wrote myself in about 10 minutes.
Tide washing detergent will make your clothes the whitest they've ever been. How white, you ask? Well, as white as a baby polar bear playing in the fresh, clean snow. As white as a Hollywood smile, or a wedding dress, or whipped cream. As white as a truce flag, a fluffy cloud, or a baby swan, or even a freshly painted lighthouse. As white as marshmallows, pearls, or a river of milk. That kind of white. Guaranteed Tide whiteness.
Okay, exactly the same idea. Exactly the same. They're just making the point about something being really, really, really white. One is rubbish, one is amazing. So yeah, that's the point with that.
One did have a very good voice in it.
Yeah, and you recognize the rubbish voice on the second one as well.
Sorry, what?
Okay.
So our third point is gimmicks and formulas, the anthrax of great radio. You know, gimmicks and formulas have been around for as long as advertising has. They're tired, they stay, they're not original. At the end of the day, they mask generally the fact of a lack of an insight or a truth. This is a very quick point. Don't use gimmicks and formulas. They don't work.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Then.
What are some gimmicks and formulas
I mean, I think that gimmicks and formulas are the kind of things where you come up with a like, let's use a phone call as a device, or let's use kind of like just the same structure of a joke, or just doing things that have been done before, and that kind of often they feel quite easy to execute, and they don't make you nervous or scared, and it's kind of like the cliches, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, very often the reason we go to these places is because we don't have a good idea. And we're like, oh, we don't really have an idea, we don't really have an insight, we don't really know what we're saying. So let's use this like little technique that I know where we, you know, I don't know, use a sound device that sounds like something else and then it actually morphs into something else. It's usually the sign of no idea. So those are the kind of things we're talking about. And I guarantee you when you write radio, you know when you're doing it and you feel a little ashamed. We all do it, don't worry.
And I think if you're going to use a formula, make sure it's your own unique formula, or try and break ground or break through with it.
Okay.
Sorry, I would just add, in Zambia, there's a lot of radio ads that have like a convo between two people talking to each other, and they're like, oh, where can I get this? And the other person directly says it. Go to the shopping mall and then you can find it.
You're not alone. It's a global problem, and we are trying to address it. But yeah, look, I mean, I think that's a global problem. And it's, you know, it's like, oh, how am I going to get all this product information? And I've got to make it like, it's got to hit all these target market notes. How do I do it? Oh, no, conversational, like that's an easy way to do it. And I've only got 5 minutes to write it as well, like, which is generally also another problem with radio. So we just go to those places. We're not judging you, we do it ourselves. But in the spirit of great radio and making iconic radio, you know, that's not the way to go. It's about reinterpreting those things and doing those little things on the side if you absolutely have to.
But I think also that sometimes, you know, maybe the way of breaking the gimmick or the formula is to almost turn the formula on its head. So why does it have to be a conversation between two people? Break the structure of it, try something else, or just look at it from a different way where, you know, is it the conversation? I'm not going to, because I'm just going to embarrass myself by saying, like, make it the conversation between the mall and the product.
I'm going to show you a piece later that is actually a brilliant, brilliant spot, and it could have been written as a conversation, but it wasn't. Instead, it was written in a slightly different way. It still comes across as a conversation, and I'll point it out to you, and I'll show you how, like, someone's taken the idea of a parent-child conversation and turned it on its head, and it's worked out really well. Okay. Okay. So onto the execution. Execution isn't a random thing, and it's very similar to what you do with art direction. You've got your idea, and then you pick the absolute best way to get that idea across. So it's not something you just say, okay, here's my idea, I'm going to do it like as a song. It has to be closely linked to the idea. The two work together. So like I said, not random, but relevant to the actual idea. And then what I wanted to do is just play you an example of...
I mean, just to go back to the icing and the cake, you wouldn't, and this is again is where it's kind of a true analogy, because you wouldn't ice a carrot cake with a chocolate, hypothetically. So your idea's got to be relevant to your cake, or your execution has to be relevant to your base.
Yeah.
It's your good idea.
There's back to the cake analogy, which I know everyone understands. Everyone understands cake. It's the universal language. Okay, so I want to play you a spot, and it's a very, very executional idea, and it's actually quite an old ad that won, as a campaign, won basically everything in the world ever. And we've done another thing where we've re-recorded it, but I want to show you how the executional idea of this, which is like this mock Odie kind of rock song, is so core to the idea that it works. And if you'd done it in another way, which is what we've done, it just falls completely flat. And again, I've used that conversational device just to show how a bad execution can kill a great idea.
Bud Light presents Real American Heroes.
Real American Heroes.
Today we salute you, Mr. Really Bad Toupee Wearer.
Mr. Really Bad Toupee Wearer.
More than any neon sign or exploding scoreboard ever could, your chrome dome cover says, "Hey guys, look at me."
What could you be thinking?
You think it looks natural, but it couldn't look phonier if it had a chin strap.
I couldn't fool a blind man.
Made of space-age fibers, it can repel anything. Rain, wind, snow, and especially young women.
I don't think so.
So crack open an ice-cold Bud Light, Mr. Stud in a Rug. Then crack open another for that thing on your head.
I don't think it's all straight.
Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah, that's the perfect marriage of execution and idea. We've redone it, and it just shows you how you can completely take a great insight, say all the same copy, all the same jokes, really bad ad.
Hey, Lindy, have you seen that guy in accounts with a bad to pay? Yeah, you mean Mr. Really Bad Toupee Wearer. His chrome dome says, "Hey guys, look at me." He thinks it looks natural, but hi man, it couldn't look funny if it had a chin strap. Ha! It could fool a blind man when this thing is made of space-age fiber. It repels anything, rain, wind, let's know. Yeah, and especially young women. Yes, when
Bud Light salutes real American heroes like you, Mr. Really Bad Toupee Wearer. So crack open a cold one today.
So we've all done it. Excuse the bad voices, they were agency voices. Yeah, it just shows, I took exactly the same jokes, the chin strap jokes, repels women, took all those little bits which were genius in the first execution and like really lame in the second. And I think it's a good demonstration of why execution is so important to your idea. Then I'm going to play another example. And this is an executional idea that I think, again, it takes the idea of something and marries it in a very executional way, but not so that it feels like a gimmick. I think a gimmick occurs when there isn't a marriage of that idea and that execution, and it just feels like you're using a technique for the sake of it. Here there's a beautiful marriage of a concept and a technique. Also, I think once
your father and I are helping you move into your dorm room, even though you're clearly embarrassed by us.
I'm deliberately walking 10 paces in front of you so no one thinks I'm related to you.
I'm trying not to be upset, as that would signify weakness. Not to mention it'll just set your father off.
Your disrespect to your doting mother is making me grind my teeth so much I have a jaw cramp.
I'm using body language to communicate my profound dislike for you right now, and I'm using eye rolling to tell you to leave already before any girls see you.
I'm now desperately changing the subject before your father explodes by handing you this case of Gamble's Junkie Soup.
At the risk of appearing as though we are coddling an ungrateful offspring, we are giving it to you because we know it's your favorite, and you can save some money by having it for dinner!
I am moved by this gesture. If other people weren't around, I'd hug the both of you.
Let's both pretend to leave with an air of indifference.
We love you!
And this case of soup shows me that!
Campbell's. It's amazing what soup can do.
Different ad, but it was an executional ad that I wanted to, and it was to your point about dialogue. That could have been written as dialogue, and it is kind of a dialogue, but it's done in a completely different way. And what I love about that is it completely captures this passive-aggressive relationship and this angry relationship between teenagers and their parents in a really fresh way. And it's not that different from dialogue. It is actually dialogue. It's just done in a really interesting way. So there's your challenge for your dialogue ads. Okay.
Sorry, add something to what I just heard. I thought it was a bit long. If maybe if you had it in pieces, bits and pieces, and then argue in different cases, like this piece will play and then it will continue in another time frame.
Look, I mean, absolutely. I think you could do that. I also think you'll find that awards pieces are generally, so these are all like things that we've got from awards, and they generally are quite long. So, but that would have worked equally well in a 30-second. You could have got the point across equally well in a 30-second. I think it's a very, very easy, simple device. It's a very simple message, and yeah, because we all work within 30 seconds, so we all understand those pressures. But that's a very simple ad with a very simple device. Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant. There's a set of like 3 of them. It's for Campbell's Soup. Look them up. They're really good and like simple. Anyone, then it's not massive production. It's good performances and good writing. So, okay, and then the final one is...
It's your 30th birthday.
A baby white shark is born in the Pacific Ocean.
You go to work as usual.
The baby shark's parents name him Timmy.
Your wife plans a surprise for you.
Timmy is playing hide and seek with his family.
You come home to find tickets for 2 to Australia.
Timmy gets lost.
You plan your holiday.
Timmy is sad.
You reach the airport.
Timmy is wandering aimlessly.
You land in Australia.
Timmy is now angry at the world.
You head to the beach.
Timmy enters the Indian Ocean.
You enter the water.
Timmy is hungry.
You feel something brush against your legs.
Timmy sees legs.
For when your destinies meet, stay travel insured with commercial insurance. Call 1280 24 hours.
Which is what radio is so good at, and where radio is so powerful. But also it's a device that so perfectly works with this idea of destinies meeting, and so perfectly matches to an insurance product. So yeah, great idea. Also got some nice metal overseas. Okay.
And then the last point is just to kind of, give radio the sweat and effort it deserves. Love your radio like it's TV. I think often it gets kind of bumped down the glamour ladder, and radio is really, it's a chance to really explore how do I put it? I mean, to Jane's point earlier, or right now, it's a pure storytelling medium. It's a chance to be intimate with somebody, to get emotion into things. And I mean, in a way, you need to kind of give it the same respect you give TV. It's about the multiple channels, the multiple elements of it. Is it the voice you use? What's the direction like? What kind of music can you put in it? You've got to consider all these kind of things. And I know that often it doesn't involve sitting in a trailer somewhere with like a host of kind of peons and snacks and lights and all of that, but it's a chance to work with an engineer and really convey and get the most out of something and have a lot of fun. So it's not often you get to kind of work in such an intimate environment and kind of have such a hand on your own work. So it's important to just love it and give it a bit of time and not just treat it as a quick fix the way that your clients might. And I think if you do that, you'll kind of get the rewards. I mean, it's often, you'd also be surprised what you can get away with in radio, because often clients visualize or get stuck on what they can see, and radio is a lot more transient. So it really is an opportunity to play and push the boundaries, because often when they can't stare at it, they can't kind of complain about it in a weird kind of way.
Yeah, I mean, radio really is an opportunity to work within small budgets and do amazing things. You can have as many helicopters as you want in a radio ad. And honestly, it's a great way to use like a limited budget, which we're all working with. And we can't always do it in TV or in print or even in outdoor or even major spectacular things. But we can do anything we want to do in radio. And that is our speech.